Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to DDP Snake Pits. And of course, we can't do it without our Hall of Fame duo. Up first, Mr. Jake the Snake Roberts. Jake, how are you, man?
I like a sore and you can't beat it.
And of course, Diamond Dallas Page. DDP, how are you, dude?
Like the shirt says, unstoppable. Yeah, unstoppable, baby. Let's rock it, man. Connie, today I'd like to, because we got a special guest here that we want to bring on towards the end. We don't really do that, but he just happens to be here at the DDP Yoga Performance Center, and he was going to film something. So
we already did his autographs and took pictures with him. So,
so we'll do. Let's start off with the heels today, and then we'll end with our guest.
I like it. So where we left everything off was episode 3, Cheap Heat. We first meet Ricky Rabies, and now we're going to start easing into episode 4. But let's put a bow on episode 3.
You know, I want to go back and hit the end of 3, though, right?
Absolutely, yeah. What do you think?
Cool. Put over, like I say, if this is spoiler already, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. And zip through this if you don't want to hear it. Want to give props to our boy CM Punk, who did a hell of a job.
Yeah.
And
I didn't even know it was him.
Yeah, that's crazy. We talked about that because Jake and I we watch it separately and then we don't talk about it until we get here. So I thought that was pretty cool. And it might sound like we're really like blowing these people, like, oh my God. So no, we really feel this shit. We're not going to say anything. And there's certain times where we're going to throw a flag, I don't really like how they did that, but for most of it, I think they're doing a hell of a job. So one of the things that I really dug that they got into was right in the beginning of 3, Tom, who is the father, is running and he's working out. You can see he's a stud. He looks like somebody from the 80s who could have been working in the 80s. He was really well. They did really good casting with him. I'm doing a favor, look up his name, Conrad, because I didn't get that.
Sure.
But I really like just how they brought him on. And then you see him working on the house and, because he's got a real job. Back then, he's independent wrestler. You got to have you ain't making a living just off your wrestling. And those guys back then were to a certain degree because it was a territory thing. But then you see him, get in the house. He walks in, he grabs a gun, walks out and blows his head off. And today, you think, well, he has suicidal issues or whatever. Well, today, this whole concussion thing, we've heard so many of the NFL players, and they want to keep that as much under the rug as they could. The NFL fought it like crazy, in the beginning. And then they had to concede, like, no, these guys got multiple concussions. And for a lot of them, it's screwed a lot of like Hall of Famers and regular players out of it. So, immediately made me think of Eddie Graham. When I saw it, he used to run the Florida territory. And what did you think about that, Jake?
When that happened, I couldn't believe that. I respected that man. He was God, to me.
You talking about Eddie Graham?
Eddie Graham.
Yeah.
He was just unbelievable, man. And then to see this part on heels acted out the way it was. I mean, for a brief moment, you wonder if it was the deer that he was going to shoot. Man, boom, he just turned around and dropped himself. But I wonder, I'm sure the people there that are doing the show, they're going to fill in the backstory, of course.
Right.
Because they've already proven that to me, that they are filling in the backstories where you get the real deal, And I really think they're doing a great job on the show of doing that. Not only with the father, but with everybody else.
Right.
And that's what's turning me into a fan, is I'm understanding why these people are the way they are. And whether it's showing the jealousy from one of the wrestlers,
right,
who's not getting the push,
right, the Rooster,
how he acts it out,
he's
takes it out on somebody else, but then brings it back. They're doing a pretty damn good job on this show. I mean, oops, I'm a fan. Okay.
Yeah.
I bit. The hook is set deep and I'm not going nowhere. I can't wait to the next episode, which I'm going to watch tonight. And yeah, they're doing a great job, man. And folks, if you haven't watched the episode and you're still, if you watch the episodes and you still aren't hooked, you need to check your pulse. You know, might not be alive.
one of the things I like too in that episode 4 was episode 3, where you had the kid, you had Ace, and he's worked, he wants to be a baby face because he wants to be cheered, and he hasn't really realized,
Supposed to be his dad.
right, but no matter what, he from the football field, and they dropped that pass, they should, he could have been somebody, but he wasn't. And now he's wrestler, and he wants the accolations. He wants people cheering him. But
He needs it. He needs it.
but outside of it, he's a fucking asshole.
He's a jerk, man.
He's a real heel. A lot of times, as you know, that's kind of some parts of our business, because their egos got so big, and then
Yeah.
they don't have the time to do things. And it happens so to a lot of the guys, and
Yeah,
I-
most of the lights, man.
I liked how he was working the promo,
Hmm.
and like they gave, they'd still written out for him, it's kind of like what they do, in the big time up at the show in WWE. They write out your stuff, and then guys who really know how to talk, they can adjust it to fit them. And that's what you see him doing. And this is where you really start to see Crystal you start to be like, she's really smart.
She's the smart.
Yeah, she's a smart one.
She understands.
In fact, he's a heel because she's around him.
She knows he's a
Yeah, and I kind of really liked how they played that, and then later on, you can see him in the show becoming nicer, and he's embraced being an asshole
yeah.
to the people,
yeah.
and that's what I can remember me being as big an asshole as I could be on the
Which
mic,
is huge.
which was huge. And people would meet me in the bar and you go, wow, you're nothing like that guy. I go, well, I mean, I love playing the bad guy. And a lot of the bad guys are the nicest guys. So,
Baby faces are usually full of their shit. They don't have time for it.
what'd you think about that, Gotti?
No, I thought it was a good episode, and I did think the same thing you did about the whole Eddie Graham comparison. And I did find his name. The fellow who plays Tom Spade is David James Elliott. And
He's good.
Yeah. Great casting on this show. And then we ease out of Cheap Heat and we get into episode 4, which is cutting promos. And I love the names of these episodes. Just to recap,
Yeah.
episode 1 was Kayfabe, episode 2 is Dusty Finish, episode 3 is Cheap Heat, episode 4 is cutting promos. Jake, what'd you think of episode 4?
I liked. Like I said, I'm falling in, man. I'm hooked. So these guys are showing some of the backstage stuff that does happen.
But some of the stuff you got to throw a flag on.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw a flag here on my favorite character is the Wild Bill character.
Oh,
Well, he's just like me.
Yeah, well, he's you. He's a little bit. He's a couple of guys put together, but he's
3 inches taller, he'd be me.
yeah. He's a lot of you.
Everywhere.
He's a yeah, but he really takes it to a different level of being an asshole.
And the confrontation with him and the lady.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Willie. She that was really wild.
man.
Yeah, that was really wild. How they really stepped him up. Like he's one of those guys, and this happens in our business, and it happens in professional football. It happens with people who are headed of DMV. It's just you give someone too much accolades or too much whatever, they believe their shit, and
they feel like they have the right to be that.
yeah, and but he is, the deal where he's on the plane.
Oh.
And he comes out and he's got the robot.
That
And
would
he's
never
stuff. That would never happen in a million years. on a regular flight. So right there, you guys, I'm throwing the flag. No, we never had. And he never would have talked to anyone else again. He never would have talked the way he did to anyone in the office like that.
Yeah.
He would be immediately fired.
Yeah.
So I don't want people to think that's true, because that's a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
So as you can see, what we don't agree with, we're going to come back and call it out.
Call it what it is, man.
Call it what it is. But I am really buying the brothers now.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, because you know it's not Cain and Abel.
you get tough love.
Yeah, it's tough love because Ace loves Jack. He was his protector. He was his big brother, and
He cleaned up after the dad.
yeah, clean up after dad, and that's why he does what he does, and he didn't have to do it the way he did it.
Right.
When he in that very first episode, you know why he humiliates him. Never really bought the crying thing either, like throwing the flag. There would have been another way to do that, but it was setting up things that they had written, to come. But I do buy the brother thing, and that Jack really cares about his brother.
Oh, he does.
But he also cares more about the DFL than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And the wife shows that too.
Yeah, big time, big time. So I think it's important that the people, about the whole concussions thing. I think it's really important that they're getting that message out there.
There's nothing funny about suicide.
Nothing.
I've been there in the past. I've considered that and even attempted it a couple of times, and I failed.
You didn't want to kill yourself, because if you wanted to, you would.
I would have shot myself, but I didn't. I took handfuls of pills, threw them up. Wasted drugs is not a good thing. Sorry.
So overall, getting into 4, I think it's now, like I was saying last week, it's really becoming, it's a serious drama about family and what happens. And,
Absolutely.
small town America. And I think that, you're really starting to see the heart and soul, and that wrestling is just a little piece of it. And that's why I think they picked it up again for another season.
Well, what's interesting about the show to me is the family dynamic. We talked about, how Jack has all this pressure on him to keep the DWL going, and it was his dad's vision and dream, and his dad has committed suicide, and now the whole family is dealing with that. And we know the story of the Grahams, where, it wasn't just Eddie Graham. Mike Graham, unfortunately, committed suicide as well. And that's an uncomfortable conversation. But you've also got that brother dynamic. And I just think that it's interesting that